Welcome to the Marketing and Me podcast. If you're eager to grow your health and wellness business via effective marketing methods while maintaining your own health and wellness, this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Leanne Shelton, health and wellness content coach and copywriter at Right Time Marketing. And today I'm joined by Annette Armstrong. Welcome.
Thanks, Leanne. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. And so Annette is a counsellor and emotion and body code practitioner who tests for energetic imbalances in the body and corrects them energetically. It's also fascinating. The use of muscle testing identifies the underlying imbalances. They are then released from the body's Chinese meridian system. So Annette works remotely and in person and specialises in helping people with body pain, emotional pain, allergies and intolerances, as well as the immune system. Personally, I have a bunch of food intolerances and I was referred to Annette via a mutual contact to help treat these gut issues. And when I heard it could all be done over the phone, I was even more intrigued about how the whole process worked. So Annette, could you please tell us a little bit more about you and your business journey and what you do?
Okay. Well, my story goes back to when my daughter, who's now 20, when she was about 4 years old, she was diagnosed with having with the two kidneys, but one kidney that wasn't functioning well at all. In fact, it was about 7 to 9% functioning.
Oh, wow.
And I was told by the specialist that, you'll have to have it removed. And I thought, okay, that's, yes, we might have to, because she's been having back-to-back urinary tract infections and it's pretty tough on a little kid. So I've always been, looked at the natural way of dealing with things as much as possible. So the natural side's always intrigued me. And back then, my husband and I went through a whole lot of different testing. We had some, had the poor little girl do some acupuncture, and getting her to stay still at that age, I had to bribe her.
Yes, I bet.
It did really well. But at the end of the day, with all the different things we tried, the good kidney that was working well seemed to be better, and the other one just didn't make any change, and the problems were still occurring. So we ended up having it removed. But basically that's where my path went down into the natural healing side. And it was quite interesting because one day I was just Googling online and I came across a program called Emotional Freedom Technique, or EFT. I don't know if people have heard of that. It's a lot more common these days, but that many years ago, 15, 16 years ago, it wasn't very common. Anyway, and I that was sort of my first experience in something a bit more natural in terms of healing. And I just read it online. I went through a program. I started tapping using EFT. And I was really surprised that as soon as I did it, I'd had an issue with someone I'd been dealing with in real estate at the time, and I was a bit upset about it. And within 5 minutes of this tapping, I didn't care about it anymore. And it's like, wow, this is amazing. I need to know more. The following day, I was actually going to a kinesiologist. I was referred by a friend of mine, and she said, look, she can help you. He can probably help your daughter. He helps whole families with all sorts of issues. Now, I knew nothing about it, but it was a recommendation, and I thought, look, I'll give that a try. So I took my daughter. He was able to help her a little bit in some ways, but in ways not necessarily with the kidney that I could notice something big, but more just with the brain function. And so I took my younger son as well, and they were not very physical type children. They sort of walked at late stage, and after that, academically, they suddenly were a whole lot more intelligent, and I was like, wow, this is amazing.
Wow, impressive.
And I thought, I need to go too and see. I might need some help.
I could be a genius. I said, don't know it,
Exactly. Amazing. I was surprised and so intrigued by this style of healing. And I thought, well, maybe I can have some help as well. And I thought, I have no problems, but I'll go anyway. And that started my whole journey. And I discovered I had a whole lot of stuff that I didn't even know of. So that's where my journey started down that path. And then in 2009, I discovered the emotion code, I was listening to an internet radio show, and Dr. Bradley Nelson, who is a chiropractor in the US, who's been doing this for about 30 years. He was doing a demonstration, and I just stood up, I followed his instructions. I used muscle testing, in fact, my whole body to do the exercise. And I was just so amazed about how it knew what was going on. It knew the answers. It knew, without me and my mind trying to manipulate it, it just knew what was going on. It's like, wow, this is amazing. I need to learn this. I want to use this to help my family, help my friends. So that journey started. I did my training in 2011. And in 2016, I learnt the body code, which is the next step up from the emotion code. So that's pretty much how I got started, and I've been doing it ever since, part-time as a business. And, I actually use it pretty much every day, whether it's for, at the moment with, the coronavirus going around, my kids are saying to me, "Mum, do I have the virus? Just check for me." Just quite funny. But, I'm checking on our immune system. I'm keeping our immune systems pumped up, because with all of us being under a bit of stress, I'm noticing even myself, I tend to get a little bit run down. So I'm just tapping into the body and finding out what's going on and just pumping that up. So, and I'm luckily, touch wood, I haven't been sick for years, because when I feel something coming on, I use the emotion code and sometimes the body code to alleviate any imbalances that are going on in my body that are sort of weakening it and lowering my immune system. So that's just one way we can use it.
Very cool. So can you just go a little bit more into detail about how the emotion code and body code work? What are they? How do they actually?
Sure.
The components.
Yeah. Okay, so the emotion code, essentially it's just a chart of 60 trapped emotions. And Dr. Bradley Nelson came up with this many years ago and realised that we have, so if I can explain a little bit about emotions and the emotion code. So if we are all vibrating particles of energy on a quantum physics level, I'm no scientist, didn't particularly do well at school in science, but
neither did I.
Most of us are that. But the thing is, I'm learning about how this works. So basically, we're all vibrating particles of energy. So this computer I'm looking at is actually vibrating particles of energy. So is the chair, so is everything around us. We are, our emotions are particles of energy as well. So what happens in our life is we may have inherited some of these, but during our life we can have an instance that occurs, and it might be something a little bit traumatic or a bit stressful. And if it's too much for the body to process emotionally, we have a tendency to hang on to that vibration in our body. And that's what we call trapped emotions. That's what trapped emotions are. And so when we have these trapped emotions, they cause an imbalance in the body, which causes physical and emotional pain. And it can manifest into certain things. So, for example, if someone has a bad back, they've got back pain, most of the time, most things come down to trapped emotions. Probably about 90% of the work that I do will fall into that chart of 60 emotions.
Wow.
And sometimes they're inherited. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. He worked this out over many years as a chiropractor. I was realizing that he could get results for people up to a certain point, but the emotions just play such a huge role in our body. I mean, they're part of our energy field, and so it's really so important in your life to be in touch with your emotions, how you feel. So pretty much the body code is that chart. The emotion code is that chart. The body code is an actual program that encases the emotion code. So it deals with a whole lot of different issues, such as you've got toxins is one part of it, energy is one part, misalignments, you've got nutritional health, there are other things as well. So all these different parts play a role. So I actually have a program called the body code, and I actually use that on my computer or on my phone, and I muscle test through those, trying to find what the issues are that are causing the imbalances.
So
So
the muscle testing thing, so you did this on me and I was just like, how does that even work? So
yeah,
you basically, you kind of tapping into the muscle of the other person. That's
yeah.
kind of how it works, right?
That's right. So, for example, if I'm working on you, I use the ring test in muscle testing, which is just the fingers locking together. So when they're strong, it means the body is saying yes, that's correct, it's true. When the body it says that this is not true or it's weak, the body will be weak. So when I'm taking on somebody else's energy, I'm doing that with intention and their permission. And so I would say, okay, I'm doing the healing for Leanne. My name is Leanne. And then I would muscle test as strong because that's my intention that I am working on your behalf. So essentially I'm tapping into your body. There's nothing really strange about it. I don't go into a weird state or anything. My energy just steps behind and I'm just working as if I'm you. And then I'll say, do I have an imbalance with, say you have a bit of back pain, for example, I'll say, do I have any imbalances in my back? And I'd muscle test and the body says, oh, yes, we do. I'll say, okay, can you tell me the cause of it? Yes. Okay, is it in the emotion code? If it's a yes, okay, is it on and there are 60 emotions, so there's the A in column A, column B, and I just go through muscle tests, find out what it comes down. It could come down to maybe frustration, what else? There's so many of them. Anxiety, failure, anger, so many different emotions. So when we've identified that, then what I do, I say, is there anything else I need to know? And sometimes the body wants to know more information. We can go and muscle test and say, look, when did that happen? Did it happen between, when I know your age? Did it happen between the first half of your life, the second half? We can get down to an approximate age where that thing occurred. We can know more. Most of the time I don't go into that because I just want to get down to let's just release these things and do as much as we can to help the body. So basically when we've identified it, I run my finger up the governing meridian line in the body. It actually starts just below the nose and it goes all the way through to the base of the coccyx, basically, of our spine. But what I do is I flick up between my eyebrows and that just stimulates that governing meridian line and actually acts as a way, sort of where your third eye is, acts as a way to release that energy that we've identified. And I just say that in my mind. I do that 3 times and then it's gone. Now, sometimes when I work with people, they may feel a little emotional. I don't know if when I worked on you at all, Leanne, whether you felt any emotions at all.
I think I did when you said certain emotions. I'm like, oh yeah, I can relate to that one. So like when you kind of said it, like, yeah, okay. I feel that.
That's right. I mean, and I do that too. And then other clients say the same thing. They do. And sometimes we have something that's releasing. Oh, didn't really think that was, but it's all coming from in our body. Our body knows what's going on. And I just trust that that's what it is. Yep. So when I've released that, most of the time there's not a reaction. Often people just feel lighter, more happy. Sometimes over the next couple of days, depending on if I'm doing a lot of work, maybe a heart wall, they may feel a little emotional because it's just part of releasing. So essentially that's just what we're doing, releasing energy from the body so the body can naturally rebalance itself.
Yeah, because I've been trying the acupuncture actually the last few weeks. And there was one day, the next day, that afternoon, I had a massive headache, and the next day I felt really run down. And I asked the, acupuncturist, said, "Oh, was that normal?" And she said it probably was like releasing like things. And I had another treatment on Saturday, and it's now a couple of days later, and I was really like emotions were really strong today. So I think it was a bit of similar kind of thing. I'd say, wouldn't it be like releasing it? You don't have to physically touch, which is just, I find it just so fascinating that you just so you basically just have some deep breathing and just kind of close your eyes and you press your fingers together. Is that what you said? So forefinger and thumb?
Yeah, so it's like you've got your fingers in so your forefinger and your thumb together, and you ring them together. You put them so they're locked together. Yep. This is just one way to muscle test. There are many ways to muscle test. There's a standing test where you actually stand up straight, and if you have the intention that if my body moves forward, that's a yes. If my body moves back, it's a no. Like you can give it whatever intention that has meaning to you. I just find the muscle testing with the fingers a lot easier because if I'm not well and I'm in bed, I don't have to get up and do it. I can just lie down, do it, and then I can get up. I discovered that because of me being unwell one day and not getting out of being so unwell. I thought, oh, that's right, you're a healer, you can fix this. And then I thought, okay, we better practice this ring test because then so I can get. I don't have to get out of bed if I don't want to.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, that's good. And then you can just be sitting down comfortably, I guess, not just standing and
That's right. It
monitoring.
gets a bit tiring standing up anyway. And so I can do it anywhere, any place. I can do it out in public even. I don't worry about what other people think too much. I just do what I do.
Yeah. So who would benefit, like who typically benefits from the sessions, and like what type of issues they experience, and yeah, we'll start with that.
Yeah. Okay. So anyone could benefit from it. I mean, I work on anyone, any age. I just need permission. So if it's someone who's really young, I'd need permission from their carer. From babies and animals as well. I find that babies and animals are really quite the easiest to work on because they don't have a whole lot of stuff going on. They don't have a whole lot of, it's what we accumulate over our life that just seems to build up. So very easy to work on animals and babies, but anyone, any age, and the sort of issues that I'm dealing with quite regularly, maybe, so as I mentioned, back pain, neck pain, maybe anxiety, and I'm also specialising in allergies and intolerances, and that one's really close to my heart because I've experienced a massive amount of allergies and intolerances in my life, and also my son has as well. And luckily today we're both really well. Occasionally I get a little sniffle from some dust, or when I'm out in wind I might pick up some pollen that I'm not aware of, and that might set me sneezing a little bit. But apart from that, I am a hell of a lot better than I used to be. I used to suffer really badly. So I really enjoy helping people, particularly with those things, so they can get their life back to normal.
So do you take any type of vitamins or supplements, or it's all like through the emotion coding and body coding that you can heal yourself?
Look, I believe in the physical component as well. I don't think everything is all that. There are some parts in healing where you can get to the point where you've done all you can do on an emotional level, and the body can hopefully just heal itself, or maybe there's another modality that's needed. It's not necessarily a one-stop shop to solve everything. I can't help 100% of people, but I help probably about 90%. I can get good results for 90%, which I figure isn't too bad. It's probably similar to what doctors do anyway, but in a more natural way. So, but yeah, I do take, for myself personally, I do take vitamin C as a supplement, especially in wintertime. And, I'm trying to keep my immune system a bit boost, but I can also use it to test, hey, am I low in magnesium? What am I low in? And I use a bit of intuition, but I also muscle test, but I also don't make that the be all and end all. I don't diagnose. I absolutely don't diagnose. I just get an indication of what's going on in my body or somebody else's, but I don't tell them, no, go off that medication, you should take this or that. It's just an indication.
Yeah. So how do people know to go to you? Is it like when they've tried everything else? And myself, I was like, oh, well, I've been to dietitian, I've been this and this, and I'm willing to try anything for my intolerances. And I just happen to be talking to the right person at the right time.
Yeah.
But yeah, how do people find you usually?
Usually that is the way. They've run out of, they've been to the doctors, they've taken all the medications, they've had enough, and they are on the natural path, a bit like how I got onto the natural path myself. You run out of no, there's got to be something else. So that's normally, and often by referral, that I've worked on someone and then they mention me to someone else mostly. So that's usually the
So
way it is.
does it always show in physical ailments?
Okay, so most of the time it does. So when there's an emotional vibration in the body, it can become a physical thing.
Mm.
Sometimes it just can be just a purely emotional as well, and just manifest, say, anxiety as a thing. It may not come out in the body, but it could also come out in skin rashes or other things as well. So it's interesting, that connection, that body and the mind and the spirit, that it's just so all tightly connected that you work on one and it affects the other.
So
So
can you so some examples? So if it is like lower back, is it the
mm,
standard emotional blockage that someone's experienced with lower back
yeah.
versus head and things like that, or does it vary based on person to person?
It really does vary person to person, but I know specifically if someone tells me, oh, I've got some lower back pain, it's probably um, on an emotional level, probably lack of support. Or if someone tells me, oh, I've got shoulder pain, it might be like, I've got the weight of the world on my shoulders. They're
Ah,
probably
two things that
doing
happen all
too
the
much.
time.
Yeah.
They both relate to me. Yes. Yeah. Right.
Really interesting. But in saying that, when it comes down to it, the emotions will be different for every person. We have unique. They're trapped in different ways for different reasons. So you might have a heart wall, for example. So a heart wall is just a block of energy around your heart that holds you back from connecting with other people in a more clear way. So giving and receiving love. About 93% of us have a heart wall, and that can be released, and that leaves you feeling really light and more connected with people, easy to communicate with others. So those emotions, I've noticed when I do that, people often really feel very elated afterwards, very light and free, basically. And that's really just a wall of energy, mostly trapped emotions, sometimes emotional resonances, which is just like a ringing of energy of that particular emotion around the heart wall. And that can sometimes cause pain in the shoulder because the energy from where the heart is can go to the back of the left shoulder too. I find that can happen. But know that generally the emotions themselves, they are definitely all unique to each of us.
So so you said you worked on like babies and animals before. When like obviously they can't speak for themselves. So
Mm.
when do the parents and owners see you?
Okay, so I did a work on a baby recently who wasn't sleeping very well, and he actually had some allergies, and he was only sleeping like 2 hours at a time, just continuously. Poor mother, absolute hell for her. And what I did is then he started, after I did the work, he started sleeping at 5 hour lots. So she was completely relieved about that. So that's how you could tell that it's working. Is the child happier? Are they sleepy? It depends what their issue is. And he had some, trouble in his gut and irritability. And so I was asking his body, what is it that's causing me not to sleep? What is it do? And I knew that from his mum, because his mum had some allergies as well, that there was likely that he'd inherited some, which he had. So I was able to muscle test that. And with animals, I remember a few years ago working on my cat, and it was a lovely thing. She was just aging as they do, and she'd come up to me and be even more friendly and loving because I think she could sense I was doing the work. But I worked on a client with another cat, and she had serious sort of kidney issues, like stage 4 kidney damage,
Oh,
and
wow.
I believe she's still around. I don't know how. She's amazing. She's like
Impressive.
this cat. Anyway, but and look, it's hard to prove that, of course. Look, you know, these things are hard to prove. I guess the proof is in: do you feel better? Do you have that issue? Is it not as bad? Has it completely gone away? I aim to have it completely gone. Not that isn't always the way, but most of the time it is. I worked on a camel once as well that had a bad neck.
A camel?
A camel, yeah. When I was living in Coffs Harbour, this fellow called the Camel Man, and he had a camel that apparently had this bad, like this pain in the neck. I don't know how he worked that out, but anyway, I worked on the camel, seen better. So
Wow.
amazing.
That really, yeah, you've seen it all.
I have, yeah. It's great. I'll try anything pretty much.
So it's basically in a session, if you're the client, you just sit there and relax, and you don't have to do anything special, don't you?
That's right. So if I'm working on someone who's sitting in front of me, it's just the same as if I work on you in this situation right now or someone on the other side of the world. It doesn't make any difference at all. So basically what the process is that I'd firstly get them to complete a questionnaire, and that just gives me an idea and some detail about what their issue is, what level of pain they're in, where they want to be. That session would go for about half an hour to 45 minutes, depending on what the issue is. And if I was working on someone with allergies, I get them to avoid that allergen or intolerance for 48 hours. It just gives the body time to process. And with other issues, sometimes often it's immediate. The pain, if they're in pain, the pain can be reduced immediately. Sometimes it can take a couple of days. Sometimes there are layers that we have to go into as well, can work on some things, and then there are some things a bit deeper. But basically, I record everything that I do. So I take notes, and I will email the person all the emotions, all the issues that have come up and what's being released, so that they also have that awareness. So that's whether I'm working with them in person. Sometimes I work with people at a time when they're not available, but that still works the same. And then of course I follow up and find out how they are and see if more work needs to be done or if they have any other issues.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So they don't even have to be conscious, like, oh look, I've got a meeting on at that time, but can you just work your magic during that?
That's right. Yeah, it's all using the power of intention. And yeah, it works beautifully.
Very
So,
cool. And is there a way for us to do emotion coding on ourselves, or do we need to study for like hours, weeks, months, years to be able to do it?
well, yeah. If you're interested in accessing an actual chart, if you Google emotion code chart, you can have a look online. It'll just show you those 60 emotions. But essentially, if you wanted to learn how to do it, I'd recommend doing the course. I did my course online, so it took me about 9 months to do it part-time, because you've got to take on a certain number of clients and animals as well, and you get assessed on that. You have to get recommended to do that. So yeah, it took me about that amount of time, but yeah, I use it every day. If anyone is interested in learning it, I can send them to a link to some more information if
Yeah,
they're.
I'll put in the show notes. Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be really.
it's quite reasonable. When I did it quite a few years ago now, it was round about, in US dollars, I think I paid say $400-500 or something. I mean, it's probably a bit more now, but that's just the
Oh, that's
emotion code
nothing.
itself.
Mhm.
Body code's the next level. So if you really loved emotion code, I found when I was doing emotion code for a few years that it was great, but there were some people I just couldn't help. I just couldn't get past to the next level. And by going into it a deeper level with the body code, I was able to go in and ask more questions that give us. So it's all about the questions that you ask that
Yes.
take you down the path. So it's a bit of a mystery solving exercise when I do this work.
Yeah, you kind of flick between the two, don't you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, depending on the needs. So we kind of covered this a little bit, but I'd like to ask all my guests how they manage their own health and wellness. Apart from doing your own, I guess, healing when you feel a bit of a sniffle coming along, how else do you manage your health and wellness?
Okay, as I mentioned, I do take, a little bit of vitamin C or a bit of magnesium, whatever I feel like I need. I'm in a previous life, I was a personal trainer, so I'm, into health and fitness. That's so important to me. And while I can't go to the gym at the moment, and I do have a little Achilles situation going on in my foot, and I'm very conscious, I'm hanging to get out for a run, but I'm just doing some weights at home and just working on my body, just without stressing my ankle, and just doing upper body. So that's so important to me. And also meditation is such a key, probably one of the most important things, something that I resisted for years and years. I thought, that's not for me. I tried it, it didn't work. I tried lots of different styles, nothing seemed to work. And the type of meditation I do is basically I do about 15 minutes every morning when I wake up. And all I'm doing is I might focus on a word, I might focus on my breathing maybe, or my heartbeat, and I just do that, and that sets me up for the day. I couldn't live without it, and it's great because you can take it wherever you go.
Very good. Do you use any apps or anything, or music you listen to, or just silence?
I think silence is the best thing for me. I think the key is to find the thing that works for you. Some people like guided meditations, some people like silence, some people like, there are so many different styles. So I'd recommend, people to try as many as they like and find the one that works best. But for me, the silence is, and I'm also trying to go into non-thought, which is one of them. It is so challenging. It's a practice. And some days I don't do well at it, and other days I do really well, and it's great.
I mean,
So
throughout the day, you mean?
no, just in that 15 minutes. I
Okay.
just do it in that time. And some mornings I can focus better than others, if the brain just starts getting away too much. But, I find that works really well. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, awesome. And so how can people connect with you, Annette?
Okay, so my mobile is 0418 299 060. I can be emailed at annette@attractingabundanceonline.com, and also my website, ridmyallergies.com. Welcome to send me a message on there.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm just fascinated by the whole emotion code and body code, and I had a pretty cool experience. So hopefully, some of our listeners will reach out to you. So thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Oh, thank you, Leanne. Thank you so much for having me. It's so great to chat with you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And thanks to you, dear listener, for tuning in. You can find show notes for the episode at marketingandme.com.au. If you enjoy listening, please subscribe and leaving a rating and review on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you listen to this show. You're also welcome to join the Marketing and Me podcast Facebook group, where you can ask questions and discuss recent episodes with other listeners. If you're interested in connecting with me, feel free to reach out to me via LinkedIn. Just search for Leanne Shelton. And if you want to learn more about content marketing strategies or outsource it to me, head to my website, righttimemarketing.com.au. And until next time, I wish you good health and good wealth.